traffic, and then yes, we've got you here. You're welcome once again as we get the conversation going on involvement of parents in the life of a child. And you started the conversation already, so we'd just like you to do a backtrack for someone who's just joining, because at that point you said now you wanted to relate the approaches to parenting in terms of traditional and then modern. So parents need to begin to evaluate what model are they adopting for their children. So
Yes.
let's begin to speak on that one.
Okay, so I was saying that some parents, would want to go with the traditional method of parenting, and then um, there's also the modern style of parenting. But we need to understand that the world in which we were raised doesn't really exist anymore, because a lot of things have evolved. Technology, for example, has evolved. There's the internet, which is the window to the world, if I can put it that way. And so, over in the past, we have less distraction, right? So you can call your child, oh, go get this for me. The child responds immediately. There's nothing distracting the child. When the child is done running that errand, he or she goes with his bicycle or his tire with the sticks, or he goes back to flying his kite and all of that. Those were things that children were involved in. But now, as you call your child might be playing some game that has gotten him drawn in, right? And you know how these things are, they're so attractive, so many colors and all of that. They're already into these things. So for you to move your child from one task to the other without a proper game plan, without a proper structure in place, is going to be difficult. Because, for example, if I'm watching something that really interests me, I just come from nowhere and say, oh, or you turn off the TV, I'm going to be wondering why you've just done that. Do you understand? So you find that when it comes to power struggles, let me digress a bit. Power struggles between parents and children, they're like, okay, turn off the TV, it's time to go to bed and all of that. No, you didn't wind them down. You just came from nowhere, and you're expecting that children are like you, right? And you're like, turn off the TV, it's bedtime. No, that would be a bit unfair, right? You need to walk them through a process. Okay, so there's bedtime routine. Okay, so now when you come in and you say, okay, it's time to go to bed, the child knows that, oh, so I'm not hitting the bed immediately. I'm going to go shower. I still have like 30 minutes. Do you understand? Now, what I'm trying to say is this. There are so many distractions. Even us adults, we're heavily distracted, right? Now, these are children. Sometimes we fail to realize that they are children. As adults, sometimes, for example, the traffic I was in today, it could get some people worked up. If a child is in that same situation, let's say a child is in a school bus, and then the child gets to school, the child is going to be tuned off for a couple of minutes. And then a teacher that doesn't understand the assignment is like, oh, you're not responding. Go to the naughty corner and all of that. That's unfair, right? Because even you as an adult, staying in traffic is not really convenient. Do you understand? So that's what I mean. For example, there were where could you find traffic, way back? Do you understand? You could even walk to school and all of that. So things have changed. So we need to understand that. It's not like no child is here to frustrate the parent. You need to now look at your child and say, okay, what kind of child do I have? What's the personality of this child? How best can I raise this child? You cannot raise a child you don't know successfully.
Okay. This now leads me to, just because we've got you as the expert here to help us understand this call and response between parent and the child in question, or the children. Traditional, some persons were raised in, as soon as your name is called, Omas, it's example,
Yeah.
sir or ma. But fast forward in our present day,
Mm.
you call the child and it's yes, mommy, okay, daddy. So traditional parents were like, what is going on here? So help us understand this old dynamics in itself.
Okay, thank you for that. So really, when you want to look at that question holistically, we also need to put in place, or we also need to put in perspective the fact that this is the world we are in today. When we're raising children, are we raising them to respect us or to fear us, right? So today, even in today's world, you have children who you call Omas, and they're like, yes, daddy, or sir, they're there. But are you sure they're really respecting you? Or they're just doing it to be the good child? Because we love obedient children in this part of the world. Oh, this child is so obedient. Once the child is obedient, you think you're doing an amazing job. But I feel that we're not just raising obedient children. We need to raise children who are assertive, not just yes sir children. Children who can ask questions. That's why we're not able to question status quo. That's why we're not able to, we just go along with everything. Do you understand? Now, if a child is not saying sir or ma, that's not, that doesn't tell me that my child respects me, right? Because we need to also understand the other part of the equation. So after calling me sir and ma, am I in your life? Am I in your world? Or is it the reverence I want? You reverence me, put me on my throne. I'm the Igwe of this house and all of that. And after my chieftaincy title or my enthronement, right? I'm not able to have conversations with you. You have issues bothering you, but you'd rather go speak to your friends. You'd rather go speak to an auntie or an uncle. Why am I your dad? Why am I your mom? So why are we so bent on having the child say sir? If a child says yes dad and the child is respectful, it's fine. Do you understand? Because way back, most of us were afraid of our parents, even the ones that were intentional enough to have good relationships with us. The fear was still there. I mean, how dare you stand and you look at your father's eyes when your father is talking to you? But now they even tell you that if you're not able to maintain eye contact, then you have some kind of issues with your self-esteem and all of that. So you see that times have changed. But I want us to understand that it's not about, is it fear or respect? And then you need to check out these things. Do you want a long-term relationship with your child, or you want short-term relationship with your child? We find some parents coming and the children are scrambling all over, arranging the whole place and all of that. But the moment you're out of the door, they get into their own world. They're doing their thing. I would rather have a child who doesn't have to say sir if I call him or her, right? Oh yes dad, so long as you're respectful. If I see you're not respectful, I'm going to keep nurturing you, I'm going to keep guiding you, I'm going to keep disciplining you positively, right? But it's not the sir. I don't want the title. But I'm sure that when I'm not there, you're carrying out the family values, you're living out the family values. When I'm not there, you're doing what I want you to do, and you're not doing what I don't want you to do. That's what is most important.
So I want to ask a question about assertiveness, which is something that you stated. When children are very confident, they're assertive, they speak out their minds. Perhaps they come from a home where that is acceptable, but when they step out, that can also be seen as someone being disrespectful or being cocky or not falling in line.
Yeah.
How does a child have to navigate being in two worlds? The world at home where he can say hi dad when his dad comes home, and the world out there where he has to say sir and ma and fall in line and accept everything without asking questions, because if they do, they are punished or they are shunned in some way.
Okay, yes. So this is so important for parents to understand. Parents need to know that what you put in is what you get out, right? The seeds you sow in your child's life is what you're going to reap. So, for example, we all know that we're all here with an assignment. There's no child on this planet today who doesn't have potential, who doesn't have something in him that, when it is well nurtured, will be a blessing to humanity. Now, these children have come in different forms. We have children who some people term as talkative. You talk too much. You are a parrot and all of that. Now, these children, you don't know if their assignment is on a global stage. See what you're doing here now. What if when you were young, you used to speak a lot and all of that? Now, a parent that does not understand the assignment, a parent that is not a student of his or her child, will say, come on, keep quiet. You talk too much. Why you talk? You are too rude. Be respectful. Meanwhile, all the child needs is guidance. The child needs a platform at that moment. The child needs that gift channeled, right? But if you don't understand, you're going to keep shouting down the child until you wake up one morning and you can't find that gift anymore. Until you wake up one morning and you realize that you have dimmed your child's life. Until you wake up one morning and you're comparing the child. Look at these other children. What's even your gift? What's even your talent? It's not there anymore. Because as a result of a lack of understanding. You thought the child was disturbing you. Meanwhile, the child was freely manifesting what has been locked up inside of him. So, a parent like that, once you notice that this child speaks up a lot, right? Begin to speak to the child. Do you really enjoy doing this? Then, from a young age, give the child platforms. You can tell them in school, oh, this child loves to speak. You can give him or her opportunities, right? Now, that's for the talent area, the gift area. Talking about being rude or not, this is where parents need to get equipped. They need to get skilled. If we get equipped in other areas, I want to switch from what I'm doing now to tech, for example. I can't go in there with my parenting knowledge. I need to get equipped with the right skills that I need to function in that capacity. So, why would I pay for courses to get equipped? And then you have a whole destiny in your hand. You're raising a whole human, and you think you want to come into parenting unprepared? If you don't know these things, you're just going to end up sabotaging your child. Do you understand? You would keep saying, oh, this child is, we want our children to question us. Yes, that is how they learn. If you go to classes today as a teacher, after teaching, ask the children, how many of you have questions? You see very few hands. Children are not asking questions anymore. And how would you know if you're not curious? How would you know if everything you know is what you are taught?
All right, we're speaking with our special guest this morning, and we're talking about the role of parenting in a child's life. Sandra Oluwadare, parenting coach, child behavior consultant, is our guest. We'll take more of your messages, more of your phone calls, and of course, we have a lot more questions for Sandra. Stay with us.
Love life. What takes a plate of jollof rice to the next level of goodness? This is when it is cooking non-seasoned chips for that sumptuous taste. Or when you serve it with correct Nigerian salad, cabbage, carrot, lettuce, and a bit of kidney beans. It's both. Season your jollof with the rich taste of non-cubes and serve with plenty of vegetables. So go ahead and elevate your meals. Today, eat for good. Whatever you wish for this season, Amazon delivers. With Eddie Murphy's latest festive family hit, Candy Cane Lane. Don't freak out. Dirty your December with gritty action comedy, Twisted Metal. And Richer is back in action for a bigger than ever season 2. So whatever you wish for this festive season, it's right here on Prime Video.
With you.
Everyone is a winner in the AXA with extra and double protection promo. Get free home insurance when you buy comprehensive motor insurance from AXA and stand the chance to win up to 100,000 naira gift vouchers, phones, and other amazing prizes when you buy AXA third-party motor insurance. Hurry now. Call 0700 AXA Mansa or visit axamansa.com to get started. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, we're going back.
This is Smooth Breakfast. The Smooth Breakfast. The Smooth Breakfast Show.
It's still Lagos Talks 981, and we are having a special conversation this morning. Topic: involvement of parents in a child's life is what we're all about this morning. Leave the petrol, leave the queues, leave the naira issues. What's the use of all of this if the children you're doing all this for and not properly raised? That's the focus this morning. And we've got Sandra Oluwadare still with us. So I've got two questions for you. The first would relate to what's, in terms of, we're talking involvement, let's look at some of those factors that has now led to parents being absent in the lives of their children at crucial moments, matriculations, first birthday, or probably, and several situations. Can we make excuses to say really it's because of the time we are in?
Thank you. It's easy and it will not be bad to make excuses, but then we need to look at our priorities, right? We need to understand the fact that we're talking about humans, we're talking about children who would grow up to be adults, and family is the bedrock of society. We want to have a great society. We need to hold family, we need to make family a priority. Parenting is our greatest priority because it's the outcome we would see in the society. I know that we need to survive. We need to even give these children a good life because we can't say, "Oh, I want to be there for them all the time," and then, okay, I'm there for them. There's no food to eat. There's no money to pay school fees and all of that. So that's where the balance comes in, right? We know that we're in a fast-paced world, right? But we also need to understand that your children, how many years do we really have to form their foundation? After a couple of years, what you see or what you get is your report card. And when you get your report card, do you want to be running from pillar to post? Do you understand? So, as much as it is important to go out there, we want to fulfill our potential. Gone are the days where you find women sitting at home teaching the girls how to cross their legs, walk like ladies, and all of that. Even women have potential to fulfill. We're all out there and all of that to impact our world, right? But what I'm saying is there needs to be a structure in place. We can no longer parent with emotions. You keep parenting with emotions, your results will be inconsistent. By the time you get your report card, it will be nothing to write home about. But when you have a structure in place, even if you are a busy parent, even if you are a career parent, right? Even if you are a stay at home mom, you will still get the results you want. So let's say you're a 9 to 5 mom, right? You go out there, you're on your feet almost all through when you're at work, and then you have to get back home. You drive through traffic, you're tired, and then you get back home. Now, let me give you an example of a parent who is equipped and a parent who might not have been intentional enough to equip herself with parenting skills. Now, this tired parent gets home and the children come, "Oh, welcome, mommy," or "Welcome, daddy." In her head, she's been wearing high heels all day. She drove through traffic. Now she has to hit the kitchen to prepare dinner. The children come, "Welcome, mommy." The children, just give me a break. You know, it's not the children's fault that we're in a fast-paced world, right? So that's a parent who may not have, scaled up as regards parenting skills. She just reacts instead of responding. A parent who has acquired knowledge, right, would respond. And what does that parent see? We are not taking away the fact that you're tired. I get tired as well. But what I do is this: I just push you aside first. Rather than vent on you, "Baby, can you give me some time? Mommy is really like I had a hectic day," right? They would understand. See, the way you raise your children is how you meet them. For example, for the parents that say, "Oh, they have to shout 15 times before the child responds," you raise them to only respond when you shout, right? So it's the way. So if you have raised them in a way that when they see mommy do her eyes like this, they know that, "Oh, mommy is not in a good mood," or when mommy does like this, just know that we need to give mommy 20 minutes. That's responding, right? You've groomed them to understand that mommy is coming home tired. I just need the first 30 minutes to myself, right? And then they give you your space, you get yourself together, and then you move on to the next step. "Oh, mommy, I want to show you this." I call it, "Baby, I am really tired and I still need to cook. Do you know what? Why don't we look at it tomorrow? Or why don't we look at it much later?" Do you understand? So we're not taking away the fact that you're not stressed, right? But we're saying, are you going to keep venting on the child? After venting for 18 years, when you look back, who would you have raised? You have raised someone who will vent on you, who will shout at you as well. Do you understand? So we need to weigh our priorities. The money is important, but we also need to look at the destinies of the children we're molding.
So there comes the twofold question for you. Before, I know Zivi's got a lot more to push across. So this for me is, for the parent listening, potential parents also included, is there a school for parenting? One, is the present reflection of our society as we see it now with a reflection of the parenting results you talked about?
Okay, thank you for that great question. So, yes, we have, times have evolved. There's so much knowledge accessible right now. For example, I run a parenting academy where you can come in even as an intending parent, even as a newly married couple, just learn. You don't have to wait till you have children. Prepare yourself. And even for parents who already have children, who already have teenagers, and they're feeling like, oh, where do I want to start from? Is it not too late? It's better late than never. You can actually still walk backwards and still redeem the time, right? It might be difficult, but there is hope. No matter how far gone that child is, no matter how many mistakes you think you have made, you don't need to guilt trip yourself. For those who feel that they've not been there, the deed has been done. It's now how to redeem the time. Do you understand? So there are parenting, I have parenting courses in my academy, and I also have my colleagues who also are doing great, right? Raising parents who can raise world changers. That's one of my slogans. We're raising world changers. We want to change the narrative, right? Because like I said earlier, the quality of children we raise will determine the quality of the society, right? And not just the parents, I also have an academy for children, because while we're working with the parents, there are some things that the parents still cannot do because we're in a fast-paced world. There are some things that some parents are not even available to do for some circumstances, right? Now, we have this academy where children from the ages of 5 to 19 come in and they learn a lot of things that the schools do not even focus on, right? So we are trying to create a balance. So after they learn from school and they learn these other things, we realize that we're churning out wholesome adults. Do you understand? Now, talking about the reflection of our parenting on the society, we can see it. Values are key. If a child is coming from a home where values are a priority, it would reflect. That child is not going to go to school and mess up. That child is not going to forget the home where he's coming from. That child is going to be at a crossroad where he needs to make a decision. And that child will not need to call his parents to say, Mom, Dad, what do I do? Or that child might even make a mistake. But the first thing that child is thinking about is not how to run away from home. That child is saying, let me call my mom, let me call my dad, I'm in trouble. Do you understand? All of these are reflections of what we put into these children. Now, the home is supposed to be a heaven for the child. The home is supposed to be the child's safe space. Whatever happens out there, the child is supposed to say, okay, you know what? Let me just run back home. And that's because the home has been nurtured to be a conducive atmosphere to raise a child, right? So if we're not focusing on the home front, if we're just all about, oh, I need to climb the career ladder, my business, I need to scale up in 2024. Now, I have a parenting program coming up on the 8th of January. Now, this is it. A lot of people have started their vision boarding. Oh, this is how my 2024 is going to be. If we're going to be honest, how many people are doing vision boarding for their parenting? How many people have started putting plans in place? Like, how much are you going to invest in your parenting next year?
All right, let's go on to some of the messages that we have coming through. You remember, you can also give us a ring. 0144899981. Dakbo says, not only do they say that charity begins at home, but charity does actually start in the house. When children are let alone and allowed to do whatever without correction, then they are regarded as illegitimate. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Children need care and attention, not only parents who are breadwinners, but have zero time for their offspring. Setting necessary values is of essential importance because transferring of legacies shouldn't just be limited to monetary avenues. Parents should love their children in such a way that their loyalty would not be questionable. And he also says, please do not build the road for your children, but kindly do build your children for the road. You're listening to Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. The conversation continues shortly.
As you see, so I belong to the chop better gang. Now, why anytime I want chop like this, I dey put better things inside. For my yam porridge, after I don put my fish, I go come take am with onions, tatashe and ugu, come season am with correct knor cubes for that delicious taste. Because my people, good life na life wey you chop better. Sama all your food with correct vegetables, come season am with knor cubes. for that ogbonge delicious taste. Today, chop better.
I am not the Chop Life sponsor. I'm the one who wants to chop life.
I'm not the job life sponsor. I'm the one who wants affordable items.
I'm not the chop life sponsor. I'm the one who wants to click and share.
I'm not the Chop Life sponsor. I'm the one who wants to save money. Hi, I'm Jumia, the Chop Life sponsor. That's right. It's the Jumia Chop Life season from the 4th of December till the 24th. Download the Jumia app today to enjoy mouth-watering deals on appliances, phones, fashion, beauty products, and many more. You can pay on delivery and initiate a free return and refund. Make your December memorable with Jumia. Jumia, your everyday delivered.
What expected? Offer mind-blowing hyper bonus. So place an accumulator bet and then watch your winnings. They go up with our 1000% bonus. Now so 1000%. So what do you wait for? Visit onexpert.ng to use promo code Hyper Nigeria to get 300% bonus up to 189,218 naira and take advantage of the hyper bonus from OneXpert.
Okay, we're coming back on.
Okay.
Hello people, this is Frank Donga and you're listening to Smooth Breakfast.
Lagos Talks 981, still involvement of parents in the child's life and the conversation getting to the point where you have to listen to the truth and decide what you want to do, because the score card will come in less than 2 decades. You'll be asking yourself how far, how well. Some of the things you said earlier on reflects some words from a senior colleague of mine some years ago used to tell me that look at how early parents would send their children off to the nurseries and all of those places, kindergarten. And he told me one day, said, Omas, that is also a reflection of how early the children, when they grow up, too, would also want to send their parents away to elderly people's homes. And I was scared when so that's a mirror in itself,
Yeah.
bringing that in. So, but I want to say this to link us to a question of when PTA meetings are called, it's almost seems often like a PTA meeting where parents should be. It's delegated to other person, or sometimes they don't even attend, or at most it's a mommy's thing. What really is your opinion on that? That's also an involvement where parents should be to begin to know how the child is faring in school.
Yes, that is so important. You know, there should be a collaboration between the school and the home, between the school and the parents, between the teachers and the parents. You can't just send your child off to school and you're like, oh, I have paid school fees and I expect the best, right? There needs to be a structure, right, laid down for the teacher and you as the parent. Now, when we bring it down to the PTA meetings, this is a meeting that is as important as a board meeting, because the school, your child is in school for how many hours a day? And when you calculate that in a term, you realize that your child is spending so much time in this facility or in this institution, right? You need to get to know what's going on there. You need to know if what they're doing is what they have said they should do. That's a place where you need to discuss your concerns and all of that. That's a place where you bring back your feedback. Oh, my child was in the school bus for 2 weeks and he came back saying these words. Where are these things coming from? We can't just sit back as parents and say, oh, it's the school, it's the school. So what are you doing about it? Now, an opportunity has been given to say, okay, parents, let's come together for 2 hours and talk about, you know, the welfare of the children. And then you find representatives. You find so many representatives. You might just find a few dads, right? I think this is something that should change. A PTA meeting is as important as a board meeting, because that's where I get to tell the teacher what's going on. That's where I get to let the school know that, okay, this is what I think. By the time we bring our ideas together, we discover that we're deliberating on the way forward for our children. We're deliberating on the well-being of our children. If we don't show up, if we keep sending representatives, some schools who do not understand the assignment might just continue to do what they like. Do you understand? Now, for busy parents, career people, people who are going to be out of town and all of that, it's okay sometimes when you're not available. And that's where the village comes in. It still takes a village to raise a child. But you need to now test the integrity of every member of that your village that you're going to curate. to be sure that this is what's going to help your child. Now, when you curate your village, right, and you're not available, you can send someone, but it shouldn't be all the time. Show up. That's one way. Whenever I go to my children's school, sometimes they're like, okay, you're not supposed to go into certain areas, but I still ask, can I pass by? Or do you understand? Once the children see, oh, I see it in their eyes all the time, not just my children, every child. The moment there's something going on in school, once they see their parents, oh my God, they move from 50 to 100%. So it's not just about you showing up for PTA. Your child, you even if you don't get to pass by their class, you're like, oh, I was in school today, I saw Mrs. This and that. They're like, you came. Do you understand? That's a great way to be involved in your child's life. Even if you are not going to be there all through, show up. I can't forget one incident, where we were there for in an event in the children's school, and there were these children, they were crying. We had to comfort them. My husband, we just had to be there for them. That taught me a lesson. These children felt that void because other parents were there. Now, I can't blame the parents. It could have been anything. But what am I saying? It makes a lot of impact in the child's life when they know that you're consistently showing up for them. And for the PTA, please, it is so important. We need to be there. We need to also let the school know that these are our values. These are the things that this is what we asked for, but we're not seeing this. This is our own feedback. What's going on? If we keep sending people, if we're not showing up, the schools might just, especially for those who do not understand the assignment.
I'm curious about this. Does parenting ever end? Is there a point where a parent says, okay, you know what? I can't do anymore. This child has gotten to a certain age, or this child is married, this child has their own children. Should parenting end?
Parenting doesn't end. So let me say active parenting can end, especially when the children are all grown. Of course, you can't be making all of their decisions when they're married. You're still there as a support system emotionally and, otherwise, so many ways you have to be there for the children, but passively, right? So you might not be at the forefront. You still have your place in their lives. You still, they're still gonna come, you make decisions together and all of that. But that active parenting where you have to, do this and that, you have to be at the forefront and all of that, it will definitely slow down, especially if you have raised responsible children. And when you do a great job, right, your active parenting can even slow down early enough because you have children who can do things for themselves. But we have some parents who still micromanage their children's life. And when you're micromanaging your 4-year-old's life, your 5-year-old, your 7-year-old's life, you want to be your child's PA for life. And that's a draining position to be in because you would need to call the shots all the time. But when you allow these children to also express themselves, right? Expose them, let them try. You realize that you are slowing down. You're going to help yourself in the long run. You won't have to be there all the time, like active parenting, right? You just be in the background, but your place is still going to be there, not taken by anyone.
All right, a message from Rosemary. She says, good morning. You have a very interesting topic here. The truth is, before any man or woman births a child, they should take their time and think deeply as well as strategize on how they would want to train up that child and not just leave it to fate or because society expects them to start giving birth to a child after marriage. Parents need to be intentional. Before I gave birth to my child, I told myself that I was going to have time for my children. What did I do to make that a reality? I had to look for jobs operated on shift basis. Now I work from home and I still spend quality time with my child. People commend my child on his good behavior, and I know that it's with the help of God and also me being intentional in my parenting skills. It doesn't mean that all is perfect, but I don't have to shout my throat out and be restless over him. That is all the time that we have for Lagos Talks this morning. Special thanks to our guest, Sandra Oluwadari, parenting coach, child behavior consultant. Sandra, how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, on Instagram, at Winning in Parenting, and then on Facebook, Winning in Parenting, or YouTube, Winning in Parenting. On LinkedIn, it is Sandra Oluwadari.
All right, Winning in Parenting, very easy to remember across all platforms as well. Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming through.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast. Well, very enlightening.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I think, it's the kind of conversation that we can have you on another time and look at it from a different perspective
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
deep.
It is. I feel like one show
I can
can.
go on for hours. It's deep because, in fact, there are so many things that we've not even touched.
Mhm.
So many things.
Yeah.
Because if we keep shying away from these things, our society, there will be a headwind.